Welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Denise DiCarlo, checking in on what's going on here at the state capitol. Well, we're in a new legislative session, and with it comes some new members of the Assembly. Today's show, we're going to be talking to one of those new members, Addie Russell, who succeeds Darrell Albertine to the seat in the 118th Assembly District, Jefferson and St. Lawrence counties. Today we'll be talking about some of the hot issues we're dealing with here in Albany and in your district. Primarily, we're going to start out talking about the State of the State message and the budget. And thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Albany.
Thank you.
Let me first just start, find out how you feel about being in Albany. I mean, a couple of days ago you had your first State of the State message. Tell me what you think.
Well, we have a lot of work ahead of us. You know, I got down here for the State of the State and wasn't really surprised by what the governor said, because we all know that we're facing unprecedented financial you know, hard times, and we really have to take that seriously. You know, I decided to stay here in Albany for a couple extra days to work to get my Albany office together, and we're going to be spending a lot of time here in Albany earlier on in session than is normal. You know, we have a lot of work to do on the budget, and we'll be entering 4-day session weeks very soon, so we have a lot of work to do here.
In general, what are some of the major issues in your community?
Well,
The state message and the message he brought forth in general.
Overall, I thought it was balanced. You know, I think we're turning a corner where we are coming up with strategies about how to address the shortfalls. And, you know, so there was the serious talk about what, you know, what lays ahead, but also some vision and some hope for the future. So that, in that respect, I think he didn't sugarcoat anything, but he also you know, gave the difficult task ahead, you know, the seriousness that
he laid it out what it really was.
Absolutely.
I know this is your first year in the Assembly, and it probably is going to be a tough year, especially in coming to terms of the budget.
Yes.
Having known about previous years, and do you think the fact that the governor laid out the budget so far in advance, I mean, more than a month in advance, that's going to help you especially come to an on-time budget?
Oh, I hope so, and I really hope we can work toward a better than on-time budget. You know, obviously we have the deficit reduction work that we need to do, and the earlier we do that, the better. And hopefully we'll be able to get to, you know, the actual budget and get that enacted earlier, because, you know, there is cost savings the sooner we act in the legislature. So I certainly hope that we will, and our session schedule is very aggressive, and I think will give us ample time to really dive into the material and to work through what we need to get a budget passed.
The governor has often said, when talking about what needs to be done in the state economically, that the burden needs to be shared equally. Mm-hmm. Do you think his budget does that?
I think it really works to ensure that it's shared equally. I think there is some room, you know, to shuffle things around and to, you know, maybe work. So each situation is a little different, and, you know, the needs of a particular area, you know, we can have the same cost savings, you know, but structured a little differently.
Right.
Exactly. It's all in structuring, you know, how these cuts are made. And I think that, you know, that's something that we're going to have to really focus on, is if we can structure something different and still achieve the same result. Let's
talk a little bit about your district and how they feel about the economic situation and what they've heard from the governor.
Well, you know, we've always had tough times, and the feedback that I'm getting is we know that there's tough times, and we know that there's going to be cuts, and we're going to work through them. And, you know, it's not, you know, anybody thinking that we should be, you know, getting a lot more. Everyone's very realistic about where we're going, and that we really need to be careful over the next couple of years, and that there will be a, you know, an end in sight where we'll be able to breathe a little bit.
It's good. I've noticed with a lot of different constituents and districts that New Yorkers in general are understanding that, you know, they're like, okay, we know we're going to have to share the burden, as it's said, because we have tough economic times. I think their concern is probably where that's shared. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit. I understand that you have a couple of district offices set up, and why don't you tell your viewers where they are?
Yes, my major district office where I have the most staff is in Watertown, and that's in the Dulles State Office Building. That's 317 Washington Street, and it's on the second floor. It's Suite 210, and I have a full-time staff person there and 2 part-timers. And you can reach that office by calling area code 315-786-0284.
And you also have one in St. Lawrence County as well.
I do, in Canton, and it's right on Main Street, 70 Main Street, and that's Suite 1. And that office will be functioning on a part-time level beginning at the end of January.
Now your district has a lot of area to cover, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very large, and but it's also, I believe, the most beautiful district in the state. So I don't mind traversing it.
Now, we're talking about issues in your district. I understand one current issue has to do with National Grid. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, unfortunately, it's not just an issue for my district, but certainly we are impacted. You know, National Grid has made a pretty large accounting mistake in calculating their gross receipts tax. And so now they're demanding it back from our municipalities that are struggling to pay for the basics. You know, we have a crisis with the price of salt right now. And, you know, this fall, you know, everyone's hit with the increase in salt prices that has really strained budgets and forced, you know, budgets to go up and, of course, taxes to go up. And now on top of this and in the economic crisis that we're in, for National Grid to demanding immediate payment back for a mistake that's been going on for 3 years. You know, obviously we need to look into, first of all, the legitimacy of the claim to make sure that, you know, what their claims are actually correct. You know, but also if in fact money is owed back, to really work on a repayment method that is palatable, you know, to everyone, especially
you just can't come up with a big chunk of change.
Well, you don't have it, you don't have it, and everybody can obviously relate to that. I mean, you don't have the money, you have this, you know, mystery bill pop out of nowhere. You know, I think that there's ways that we can address it, but first and foremost, we have to look into you know, the nature of this mistake, and how did a mistake of this magnitude get made, and is this a systemic problem, you know, within the company? We obviously need to make sure that when you have a company that services so many and is really, you know, the major player, especially in our area, that we have oversight and we really do a thorough investigation of how this has happened, and to make sure that, you know, there aren't any other inconsistencies going on.
And this is a lot of money. Like Watertown, it's almost close to $200,000, isn't it?
Right. This is a
really don't have a lot of places to turn to other than the taxpayers.
Correct. And frankly, not going to be able to turn to the taxpayers
because we don't have anything either.
Well, and also, you know, budget's already set.
Right.
You know, and immediate repayment is something that is completely, you know, I think out of the realm of possibility at this point. And you know, the request for interest on this money, given that it was a unilateral mistake by National Grid, you know, is just, I think, distasteful.
What recourse do the municipalities have at this point?
Well, you know, obviously we're looking into it. I am sending letters to try to get our state agencies to look into, you know, this matter, and, you know, what the options are for our municipalities.
And hopefully the Public Service Commission, who does the regulating, will be able to come up with something.
Yes, you know, and, you know, given that this was a long-term problem on National Grid side, you know, I don't think it would be unrealistic to ask, you know, for the municipalities to have just as long to, you know, figure out a repayment plan.